As the woman was about to exit the supermarket, a sudden gunshot came out of nowhere and pierced her arm, but there was no one in sight. She immediately ducked under a nearby rack. Just then, another bullet whizzed past her head. Panicked, she noticed the bullet hole in the glass. It was coming from outside. She was still in the line of fire. Quickly, she took cover under another shelf, tore a piece of her clothing, and tied it around her wound. She then called out for her boyfriend, but he was sitting in the car outside, unable to hear anything over the loud music. Her eyes fell on her phone lying on the floor. If she could reach it, she could call the police. She cautiously crawled towards it, stretching her hand, but the moment her fingers touched the phone, it shattered into pieces. The gunman was watching her every move and was one step ahead. Terrified, she curled up behind the shelf. Just then, a male voice echoed in the supermarket. She looked around, startled, and realized it was coming from the intercom at the counter. Someone was calling for the supermarket staff. If she could reach the intercom, she could send out an alert to the police. Thinking quickly, she grabbed a large bag of chips and tossed it into the air to divert the shooter's attention. Not once, but twice. As the gunman reloaded, she dashed towards the counter and slammed her hand on the intercom, telling the person on the other end that the staff had been killed and she was trapped. She was pleading for help when her boyfriend finally entered the supermarket, completely unaware of the danger. He had only taken a few steps when a bullet struck his throat. The woman froze in horror as he collapsed, his life slipping away. Then, another shot. He was gone. She let out a heartbreaking scream, but was too paralyzed to act. Moments later, she pulled herself together and spoke into the intercom again, begging for help. The person on the other end assured her that the police would arrive in 15 minutes. But when she mentioned her boyfriend's death, the man on the line suddenly chuckled. It was the shooter himself. He was playing a cruel game, swinging her between hope and despair. Then her eyes caught sight of an electrical switch on the wall. She quickly dragged a rack in front of her as a shield, dashed toward the switch, and turned off the lights. Darkness enveloped the supermarket, giving her a slight advantage. She grabbed a bottle of glue, poured it over her wound, and pressed down hard to seal it. Then she tied a piece of glass to a metal rod, using it as a makeshift mirror to locate the gunman, but there was no movement. Just then, a car pulled up and a man walked inside. He seemed to be an acquaintance of the store staff. The woman told him that the staff was dead and the shooter was still nearby. She then asked if he had a phone, but he said it was in his car. As he saw the bodies, he began to cry. Something felt off. Why had the shooter spared him? Could he be the killer himself? Doubt creeping in, the woman picked up a hammer, but the man explained he was just a relative of the store staff.